Hi, I'm here in my favorite spot and I'm just resting from a busy week, and I thought to tell you about my goddess talks because I've made a video and I thought to talk a little bit about my research, but it ended up being a video of 40 minutes long, and then I realized, nobody really has that time. So then I started cutting it up in pieces just to kind of, maybe one day you'll have the time to kind of take in a big chunk, but I want to start telling you what my research is about. And it's so I cut it up in small bits. But what I'm really looking sure, they don't have the patience here. I'm here with my dogs. This is Roxy and Teddy. They're just they're just so eager. Yes, Roxy, we'll walk again. We'll walk again. So look, sure, in the forest it's so clear that there is a life force that goes through everything, that imbues, is there a word? My gosh, my English, when I'm tired, I don't have any English. Roxy, yes, go on. The poor dog. She wants to walk, and she's actually in heat. So she's anxious. There's a life force that runs through everything that doesn't have, we don't have, that is not connected to our thoughts. It's not connected to our individuality. Well, it is, in another way, but it just gives everything life. And there's just, language is so hard to talk about it. It makes it difficult to talk about it when we have to kind of define things and use words that have, one specific meaning. So that's why many of us who try to talk about this, we end up we have to talk around it. And there's lots of symbols helping us to talk about it, to talk about her, which is interesting because in my life I started teaching Qigong. A while ago I was kind of called onto this path, and it took me a while. I'm not always that smart, It took me a while to understand what was happening, that she's calling me to strengthen my own inner life force, herself in me, the Qi, and by strengthening that, I was honoring that path. To be closer to her and to know more what I'm really talking about and what it is I'm actually researching, because this research came to me. It's not something I chose, and I started researching it in books and really like in stories and in all the ancient laws, and trying to find out truths in our history, or paths that the truths has taken. I just researched it first of all archaeologically in the texts, but then I started discovering that I was actually studying goddess, that I was actually studying our life force that gives life, and that she was using me to bring this knowledge forward, using my curiosity and sending me signs in all the directions, in all the different ways possible, through my feeling, through my intuitions, through my curiosity was used, and my dreams, my waking moments. Sometimes I woke up in the morning and I had a lot of information, and then I went to go double check those things. I had new questions because of that, because of this new information that I had never even thought of, new insights. And sometimes my songs, my drawings, they showed me new ways of thinking. Some people call this remembrance. I think that's what they mean with that. But anyway, so then I became closer and closer to her, and understanding that she's real, and that she's been, and of course, understandably, forces that want to have control over people. They are trying to get rid of her. So yeah, I'm talking about God, and about the female face of God is what I call it, and why we don't know that she's everywhere. And when you talk, and also why women, this is just so much, it's too much. Look, again, I'm talking for 4 minutes and a half. It's too much. So I just want to cut it up for you, and I'm going to continue and try and keep on doing that. It's not something I'm skilled at, so it's new for me. So I'm just gonna stop talking now, so not to take more of your time, but just so, yeah, this is me. I'm Marijke. My Flemish name, my real name is Marijke. It's very hard to pronounce for people, so I live in Ireland, and it's Marijke now since 15 years that I lived abroad, something like that. I am not keeping track. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of say hi, because the little video that I'm cutting up, I made it in the winter, and look, sure, spring is coming here in Ireland. Hi, Roxy. Now they're quiet again. Can you hear the birds? So this life force is in everything. It's in everyone. When we can connect with that, with her, that's what I call it now. But I mean, there's no need to call it something, to call her something. It's just life. Life is all around us. It's inside of us. She wants to live. And she, joy wants to be felt. If we can live following our own bliss, following our own joy, then there's more coming, by living in our bliss. More bliss wants to be lived. By following our joy, more joy becomes available for us, more opportunities for joy. Who told us joy is not worth living? Why do we seek the meaning of life outside of us and not just inside of us? It might seem like a silly question, or like, yeah, some people think it's childish to think that way. But if you look it up then, and if you academically start researching this, you'll find there's powers involved in telling us the opposite of what true meaningful life is about really experiencing life. We don't need science to tell us what nature is about. Not that it's not valuable, but I mean, we don't need to look outside of ourselves to experience nature. That's the thing, and we're told that our own experience isn't valuable, is anecdotal, and that the real experience is how science tells it is. Maybe this is not how you see it, but this is my personal, how I see what's happening in the world. Is we're told that our own communication with nature even doesn't exist. We're gaslit that doesn't even exist. So maybe you feel the same, maybe you don't. That's okay. I'm just here to share my perspective for those who it resonates with. And so the videos are going to be more about what I discovered academically, more things that we can prove, just to kind of make people's eyes, open, make people open their eyes, and also maybe then they can also look that up for themselves if they have any doubts. Or if they were already doubting, and then I'm just kind of just a reassuring voice. Anyway, I'm asked to talk, so I'm just gonna talk. But a while ago I was visiting a well, and I wanted to make a painting or draw over there, and as I sat down and started tuning in, and started blanking my mind and just be present, taking my tools out and saying thank you. And I started drawing. I just had a few lines on it. Yes, Roxy girl. And I just heard, inside my head, I heard this voice speak of me. And so I visit wells often, and I pray. I practice my Qigong. And I learned a lot, when I'm when I'm at the well, or also, the last few years as I'm sharing in my videos. I've just learned a lot about the female force that gives life to everything. And sometimes when I'm at the well, different wells, but when I'm there, I learn things. And so this time, it took me by surprise, because this was a more direct way of speaking. It was quite direct. It was really loud, and it was short, and I'm gonna cry now. It was just so clear. Speak of me. And I've been wanting to speak, and I have spoken actually. I've given a few lectures. I speak with anybody who wants to listen, who I meet. But this was, I'm sitting on all this information, and it's very difficult to build this into my life, because I have to structure my mind. There is thousands of years of history that I am, looking into, and when I start talking freely, often it's maybe all jumbled up, and I want to kind of unravel it and explain it in a way that people can understand it. So it takes a while to explain it. Plus, also, it takes a while for me to organize my mind and find a thread and start somewhere and unravel it in one way. I mean, there's thousands of ways that I could unravel it and explain it to you. So in either way, I'm a bit of a shy person. So, but life doesn't want me to be shy. I have lots of things that I have to do. This is not gonna work. Yes. Yes, I'm a bit of a shy person. And life doesn't want me to be shy. I have to come out. I have to be brave. I have to speak up. Oh, so much of my life, when I spoke up, it was very painful for me. I was shut down. Look at me now, telling you this, but I have to speak up. So, and I guess this is part of it, overcoming this block I have, this thing that stops me from talking, stops me from exposing myself. Like everything that I do that brings me joy is meant to show to other people. It brings me, I go places, I bring forth intuitive messages, wisdom, insights that help me a lot. But what use is it if I don't get to share it? It's not just for me. I'm just one of those people that do this. This is how I live. This is who I am. And I am meant to speak about this. And maybe you're like me. Then you know where I'm at. This is quite difficult. Sometimes it's easy. Maybe the academic part is easier. I can just share it. Because you know what? I found something and I can show you. And this is really, look there and look there. And, I can prove this and that. But it's very personal for me. And yeah, when I was told there, I was told, speak of me. And I am trying to do this now in my Qigong classes. I speak more about life, the life force, the aura of the earth that we live in. We live in her energy field. And she's our mother. We are her children. We are made of her. We are completely made of her. And then, anyway. So it strikes me that it's difficult for me to speak of this because it's so personal. But I think that is the lid that's been kept on this for a long time. And us sensitive people, we've been bullied. There's no other way for it to describe it. We've been shut down. This is what I sing in one of my songs. I haven't sang this for anybody yet. Well, the Wayfarers heard it, but we haven't started work on that song yet. She's been erased out of, I'll do the lyrics. She's been erased out of history. You've been erased from our memory. You've been written out of our history. You've been erased from the news today. You've been shut up not to come out and play. You've been erased from our memory. You've been written out of our history. You've been erased from the news today. You've been shut up not to come out and play. Yet you are the spark in the dark, the spark in the dark. You are the light in the heart, the light in the heart. You are the whisper in the wind, the whisper in the wind. You are, you are, you are, you are. You are the first and the last, the first and the last. You are the reason for everything else. You are the one that holds us all, the one that holds us all. You are, you are. You are, you are. Those are the lyrics, part of the lyrics of a song. I called that song Barbello because I found out about Barbello, and I was so surprised I never knew about her. So she is actually the first original seed of existence in Christian gnosis, in Christian, actually in our Genesis story. Like, we believe Genesis starts with Adam and Eve. Now that's an interesting talk. That's for another time. Again, it seems I'm making a video that I'm have to cut up in small little videos because it's too long. Like, could I just keep it short? So our Genesis story that we have in the Bible, it's about Adam and Eve, right? With the Christian Genesis. So there's many other Genesis stories in the world that unfortunately many people don't know about. I didn't, anyway. Just speak for myself, right? So the Genesis story in the Bible, I'm actually, one of my goddess talks starts with that, and is about that, about the characters in Genesis. It's very interesting. Might upload it on my website as a kind of a workshop because it is long. It'll take me, if I want to offer this online, it'll take me hours to compile it with images and proof, and and lots of information for you to, and maybe I can make it, what do you call it, those spreadsheets? No, those things that you can kind of anyway, so you can kind of look through it like a book, whatever, an online book, anyway. So I might offer that for sale, so you can just watch that and own that and go through it and study it for yourself. That's what I want to do, is encourage people to look into this stuff. So Genesis, so in short, it's about Adam and Eve. Interestingly, there's two different ones in the Bible. So on the same few pages on Genesis, there's just two different stories, which I also never really, before I looked into this, I never really seen anybody ask these questions. Why is there two different stories in Genesis? So one of them, God, actually let's say Yahweh, made man and women in his own likeness, right? And in another story, he made out of clay, and he poured the breath of life into him. Now, the breath of life, that's interesting, because they're Sophia, but that's all. It's all, yeah. So that's one story. But in another story, on the same page or the same two pages, depending what book you read, of course, this was written on scrolls or God knows. But the same compiled Genesis book starts with Adam and Eve being made Adam, and then out of his rib he made Eve. Oh, because the first wife supposedly didn't do the trick. Yeah, whatever, you know the story. So anyway, so what I found so this is interesting in itself, but what I found really interesting is that Genesis is not the first book of the Bible. So how come our origin story is so long been accepted that was the origin story, and it's not the first book of the Bible? So just saying, I don't treat these stories as, like, please don't think I take them literally. But I'm looking into the history of our worldview, and how so many people, so many centuries, millennia, have been ruled inside of their own lives, inside of their own hearts, inside of their love life, inside of their families, of their relationships, and their own, like their own mental, everything. Your own worldview has been dominated by thoughts and concepts that have been given to you based on these books. And so Genesis is written. This is one thing. It's interesting. It's written and compiled. Well, maybe the Bible was compiled around, I think around 1000 before Christ, which is the old Torah, which is the Jewish book, right? Well, we all know that Christians came out of the Christian religion, came out of the Jewish religion. So they compiled that. They started writing it down around then. But Genesis writes and talks about a time way before that, and they say that, it's common knowledge that it's written down at a certain time, but then it talks about a time, God knows how many thousands of years, supposedly, what they say that themselves, so that is an interesting thing to think about, because when they write it down, of course at that time they weren't there. And so they give their own idea about it, and that idea is colored, and that's what I'm after, is just kind of looking for the colored glasses, looking for the glasses themselves, like the filters, and showing them, really, really showing those filters, and unravel that story of how those those concepts ended up ruling our lives. And if you really think about it, how much controversy is around this the unraveling of that, you wonder why is not everybody on board with really looking seriously into this. And you can see that they aren't, but because unfortunately there is lots of power that has to be dismantled, lots of power, my gosh, I can't even see anywhere, that's based on these fake stories, these made up worldviews. And it suits that people keep those worldviews, that we don't really start acting out or know who we really are and who made the stories that we believe in. And even if we don't believe in them anymore, then often we throw away throwing away the child with the bathwater. And that's what's happening. We have to be careful for that as well, that we don't take on a new worldview that's given to us again by books and by the new powers that be. So we have to really unravel the story, as to know and find out who made these. Actually, there's lots of books I'd like to recommend, if people are interested in this, right? Lots of books I would like to recommend you read. And one of them would be The Serpent and the Goddess by Marijke. So she's an academic, an Irish feminist author, and you can often see that because authors are feminists, they are discredited, not taken seriously, they're attacked viciously often. And the research then ends up not becoming part of the mainstream body of work. And this has been happening with this topic for a long time. It's just, but anyway, Mary's book, Marijke, professor, theologist, is very powerful, very painful as well to read. And yeah, Roxy girl. And she discovered and researched a lot of this stuff in Ireland, which is very interesting because she can trace all this, the things that happened, the story, the building of the worldview, and the undoing of an old way of life. And she can trace and prove this in her book from 500 AD afterwards, while I discovered it from 4000 AD and afterwards. 4000 BC, sorry. And so when I was reading her book, so often I was like, oh my gosh, that is the exact same strategy that I've discovered. So what's happened in the Middle East, 4000 BC, and before that, and also after that, and on repeat, same strategies. She's unraveled it here, so she has way more proof because she speaks of it a time closer to us now that we can more easily then find proofs and writing. Because Ireland became adapted to adopted Roman alphabet writing at a time when writing was a long time in existence. So there's way more books and proof and examples of this. While in the Middle East, 4000 BC, there was no writing. That's when I start my research. And say the third millennium, which is around after 3000, there's writing that can show us what people were thinking at that time. Well, some people, some writers, but there was very few writing, very few bits of writing. And then we can see how the writings start changing. And anyway, I came across the same strategies and ideas that she shares in her book. Well, another book would be definitely Merlin Stone. She's the writer, and the book is When God Was a Woman. And that brings you to early Jewish history, where she unravels she uses lots of the writing from the Bible. So from the Old Testament, really. She uses a lot of that in combination with historical research and archaeological research. And she kind of makes another story. She really tells an interesting story, which I'm not going to give away here. I may touch on it somewhere else, but that's a very fast read. It's shocking. It's just absolutely shocking and mind-blowing. Actually, I wrote a blog post about that. I might try and share that here in the comments if that's possible, or wherever we are, or in my link in bio. I might have to start sharing more and put more time and effort into this, getting this message out there. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to say hi, because I am prompted to speak of her. And I feel I started living a much more meaningful life since I learned to embrace the multidimensional quality of life, of the full life, that we are here in this visible material realm only as a result of all the other realms in which we exist. This is just the last step of manifestation, is this physical realm. So if you want to do something in the world, you know how it goes. You start making plans, you start feeling. First of all, you have a feeling for it, like a seed, an inspiration. Then it takes time to get ready. And the same happens with the material world. There's so many forces at work to create this world, and all those forces are alive. All those forces and beings, so much love is involved in creating this beautiful world. And the result of many of those forces, most of them, the result is pure beauty and extravagant life, exuberant life and nurturing energies, like even pure, lovely sunlight, feeding, nurturing all of us. All of us, like we need the sun just as much as the plants. And the plants are just as alive as us. And in our worldview that we have, what it has come to is that we are exploiting. And we are the plants, for example, and we are looking at them as things, not as children of the same mother as us. That's what this is about. That's what my goddess talks are about. And yeah, I'm going to have to learn to talk faster and more succinct. And thank you. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for doing the work yourself. If there's anything that you want to ask me, just reach out. If there's any things I'm saying that you want my kind of my pointers to where to start looking for things, also reach out. We can have a conversation. I'm doing many different projects. That stopped me for a long time from talking about this because I wanted to do it so well. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I'm afraid. I wanted to do it so well, and I just, you can't, you have to, like when I do a lecture, I did 2 lectures last summer and 1 lecture the summer before. Before my lectures, I spent 5-6 weeks non-stop going over everything. Non-stop. This is hours a day. This is just barely eating, barely doing anything else. It's just the way it is. Of course, I now have a lot of information, but the thing is, we have lives, you know, we have other things to do as well, and this is not my profession. So when I come to have a lecture ahead of me, that's when everything comes out. Order my mind, order my thoughts, make double sure, triple sure that what I'm saying is verifiable, that I'm making a point, you know, because she's so important. It feels like such important work, and so yes, I maybe I put too much pressure on myself then, and I started. When I did the lectures, like I said, now it just took so much out of me, and I wanted to do it so well. So then when the lectures were done and the next level came, I just kind of, I hesitated, like I can't keep it up to keep on putting all those hours for weeks and nothing else happens. And then, you know, like I have a CD coming out, you know, for the last 7 months there was a CD coming out, now it's out. And so here I am now, yeah, the CD is out. And my Qigong classes are starting to kind of take off a little. And yeah, now she said, speak of me, so I have to, there's no excuse anymore. I have to really, whatever it takes. So this is it now. I'll bring you to the forest with me and I'll just talk. And behind the scenes, I'm going to have to start getting ready and offer workshops. You keep on holding your own space. We are portals. Portals, and we are constantly birthing the world into being. That's how powerful we are. Her children. Keep on shining.